Mindset Transformations radio show with your host, Coach Myrna. Do you feel the need to do more with your life? Are limiting beliefs holding you back from true success? Enjoy a unique blend of interviews, discussions, and transformation coaching in every show. Get the tools for success. The Mindset Transformation radio show with your host, Coach Myrna.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. You're listening to 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, I want to talk on the topic, you can't unpickle a pickle, understanding how addiction changes the brain. Yeah. One of my most favorite quotes is, a brain that's been expanded with knowledge can never be returned to its original condition. So it's the same thing when you fry your brain or you pickle your brain, then it's very hard to go back to where it was before. So today I want to share how you can pickle your brain and steps to work with your brain after you've been pickled. And usually you pickle your brain by addictions and substances, right? So you may have heard, similar phrases. You can't unpickle a pickle. Like I mentioned the one already, once the brain has been expanded by knowledge, it cannot be returned to its former state. Right. So that's basically what I want to talk to you about it today. So what does it mean when we say that the brain is pickled? Now, in the context of addiction, the phrase means that once our brains have been altered by addictive substances or even behaviors, we can't simply revert to a pre-addicted state. Our brains undergo real lasting changes. In other words, once your brain has been pickled by addiction, it's fundamentally different. And the shift is essential to understand. So, how does addiction pickle the brain? Addiction is often misunderstood. Many people believe that's simply a matter of willpower, something someone can stop doing if they try hard enough. But science has shown that addiction actually changes the brain's structure and chemistry, creating a new pickled state that can't be reversed to its original form. One of my experiences in life was being in a relationship with a crack addict. And I thought, being the strong, powerful woman, that I can make him stop. I told him that he needed to meditate. I took him to church. I did all the different things because I thought it was willpower, right? Until he told me something that's very startling, that every single day he has the urge to do crack. It is constant. Never goes away. And he has to make the conscious decision not to do crack. And most times he fails because, when you get those urges, I get an urge to go to the fridge to have ice cream and I gotta go. Can you imagine something as powerful as an addictive brain calling you, which is why people can't stop. So I just want to bring your awareness to that. So here's a breakdown of how addiction changes the brain. Number one is something that's called a reward system rewiring. Our brains are designed to reward us for activities that promote survival, like eating or social bonding. These activities release dopamine, the feel-good chemical, which reinforces behaviors by making us want to repeat them. However, addictive substances and behaviors hijack this reward system, flooding the brain with dopamine at unnatural levels. Over time, the brain becomes dependent on this flood and craves more and more and more. And the thing is, you ever heard that the first high that you get is going to be, you've got to keep going higher and higher because the reward system keeps wanting more, right? So the brain becomes dependent on this flood and craves more. altering the way we experience pleasure. The cucumber is now pickled. You can't revert.
Identity theft. There's a new victim every 3 seconds. Think credit card companies fully protect you? Think again. They don't remove negative items from credit reports for you. But Credit Repair does. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call 323-503-6983. Terms apply.
Number 2 of how the brain works under being pickled or under addictive substances is tolerance and dependence, which is basically what I just said a minute ago. As the addiction progresses, the brain's receptors adjust to excessive dopamine levels. This creates a tolerance, meaning you need more of the substance to achieve the same feeling. Dependence then develops where the brain expects and relies on the substance for normal functioning. At this point, trying to go back to pre-addiction levels of brain function is nearly impossible. Let's take out that word nearly. It's impossible, as the brain has now been chemically altered. Number 3, you lose control and have now compulsive behaviors. The brain is running the show. Addiction impairs the brain's prefrontal cortex, the area for responsible decision-making, impulse control, and rational thought. I was watching a movie the other day when people were selling their kids for money. I mean, can you believe that? We are naturally, biologically, wired to our kids. We love them. But then this brain thing, this pickle and this reward system wants to drive more than we love our kids. So yes, that is the result of your brain being pickled. So this makes it harder to resist cravings or control the urge to use, even if the individual wants to stop. The brain is no longer a cucumber with flexibility in decision making. It's a pickle driven by compulsion and need. So can you ever unpickle the brain? The answer is no. We can't undo the changes. However, that doesn't mean recovery is impossible or that change can't happen. While the brain can't return to its original state, it can adapt and create new pathways that support a healthy, addiction-free life. They call that, neural pathways. You can, create new stuff, right? And if you do repetitive behaviors that is good, then I guess you're creating new pathways. But as I said, even though you're creating new pathways, that old stuff is still there calling you, whispering to you, making you dream about it all the time. And it takes a tremendous amount of willpower not to say, I'm coming. Right. All right. So number 1 is neuroplasticity, the light at the end of the tunnel. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form new connections. In recovery, individuals can build new habits and thought patterns, training their brains to work in healthier ways. Though the pickling can be undone, the brain can find ways to function differently, reducing cravings and supporting recovery. Number 2 is support and reconditioning. Recovery is a lifelong journey that often includes therapy, support groups, and lifestyle changes. Without support, people in recovery can establish new routines that minimize triggers and reinforce healthy habits, creating new brain pathways and making sober living more manageable over time. Number 3 is mindfulness and behavioral therapy. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, And mindfulness practices helps individuals regain control over their impulses and rebuild the function of their prefrontal cortex. These practices can help people respond to triggers without succumbing to them, strengthen the brain's ability to make deliberate choices rather than rely on automatic compulsive responses. Takes a lot of work. Everything takes work, which is why a lot of people fail. When they put you in those, you know, um, rehab places, this is what they're trying to do. First, they're trying to starve the addiction, and then they're trying to build newer pathways. But it doesn't mean that when you get out of there, you're not going to have these same thought pulses and you're not going to, smell something and be triggered, or somebody hurts you and be triggered. It's a lifelong journey, and it takes work in order to work with a pickled brain, because your brain is still pickled. So what you need to do is embrace the journey forward. Understand that addiction changes the brain is crucial, not an excuse, but as a framework for compassion and realistic recovery goals. For those in recovery or supporting someone on this path, it's important to remember that while the brain may be pickled, it can still be reshaped, rebuilt, and guided towards healthier ways of living. So while you may not be able to unpickle the pickle, you can work to live a life that embraces the changes and moves forward with resilience and hope. With the right support, patience, and commitment, anyone can find a way to thrive, even if they've been pickled by addiction. The journey may not be about undoing the past, but rather embracing a new way of being that brings perfect purpose and fulfillment in recovery. So that is one way that we can work with a brain that's being pickled. Now, I focus today on the addiction, but there's a lot of things that can change your brain and pickle your brain. This is just one of the ways. So you've got to be careful what habits you form, because habits is another thing that pickles your brain. Because what happens to habit? It is something you do unconsciously, automatically. And sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. You're an autopilot. That's a brain that's been pickled, but not as bad as if it's been pickled by chemical substances. Because with the chemical substances, it can be unpickled. Habits you can change, but you can still pickle it from there. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. I thought the topic was tantalizing. You can't unpickle the pickle, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. But I hope you got some good information, some that maybe might allow you to be compassionate to someone that's going through addiction, because it's a hard journey back. All right. Thanks again. If you've got a comment, I would love to hear it. Put it in the comments on the video, or even on Instagram or any place that I might post this. Also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, would love for you to subscribe. I do these episodes every couple of weeks, and I always try to share information that will allow you to transform your life and live your best life now. So thanks again. Until next time, namaste.